Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're revisiting Marlin Protocol. This is a project we've talked about in the past. You can go check out my original video here made in February of 2021. I will have this link down below in the description. But today I really want to focus on, breaking this down fundamentally. What is going on in understanding that, yes, this project has grown a lot since I originally mentioned it, around like 5 cents back here. Right around there. That all-time high was a nice 5x gain from there. And now we're about, 2x up from that point. But the main thing you want to understand here with Marlin is they're going after layer zero scaling solutions. Okay, so when you have a layer zero, what does this really mean? Well, this is the fundamental. This is kind of like the building blocks of blockchain technology. And just like when you're building the house, not only do you want to look at, what are we going to do moving forward, but you want to look at, what is the base layer? What type of ground are we building this on? What's our structure here? And that's really what Marlin is all about. They've done things with IPFS, which I've talked about in the past, interplanetary file system. So we're going to touch on all that today, including, their Twitter, some of their interesting updates here, but let's hop right into it. So just for the uninitiated, I thought that blog will be cool. So we'll go through that. But here they basically break it down as accelerating decentralized communication. Now, what does this mean? Well, decentralized communication is very, very important. Not having this middleman, not having kind of someone deciding, you have to trust me and I'll decide what the rules are. I'll decide what's going to happen here. Rather, with blockchain technology, it's really amazing because it's really the democratization of information and the democratization of the financial infrastructure. With these legacy ecosystems, we have a lot of big problems with kind of these middlemen or these gatekeepers, if you will, whether it's the U.S. dollar being the global reserve currency or certain countries kind of leaving a lot of the citizens unbanked. This is a massive, massive problem. And the beautiful thing here with blockchain is anyone is able to use the blockchain space. Anyone is able to basically bank themselves using blockchain technology with cryptocurrency. And it's really an incredible thing. All you need is an internet connection. Doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what your name is. Doesn't matter your ethnicity or religion. None of those things matter. Doesn't even matter your age. You can bank yourself and you can actually purchase these assets, even if it's just stable coins. This is something that's very, very powerful. And I truly believe is really bettering the world. So they describe themselves as an open protocol that provides high-performance programmable network infrastructure for decentralized finance and Web 3.0. Okay, so the unglamorous underbelly of the decentralized economy, that is what I'm talking about, the unglamorous underbelly. So this is the layer zero concern. And again, it's like I said, it's if you're building your house on the beach in Florida, on the sand, and if you've been to Florida, you've been to a lot of these countries where they're right on the sand, where maybe storms come in and maybe they get flooded. Well, typically you see they build them kind of on like scaffolding, right? They build them up, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically the house isn't on the ground floor, like the layer zero, right? The ground floor. These houses typically don't have basements. Rather, they're kind of they're elevated, right? So to weather the storm. Well, this is the same thing with blockchain technology. You have to really examine, what is this being built on top of? Is this a house built on sand, or is this a house that's actually being structurally focused on and looking at long-term scalability? So that's exactly what Marlin is doing. So the unreliable networks and long block propagations delay the key factors of limiting blockchain throughput. While decentralization, this is another important thing. So the number of nodes in a blockchain are often restricted to a small number of guaranteed low confirmation times. So that's important to understand. The nodes are really who run the network. So with Bitcoin, for example, the miners are basically, they're all nodes in the network, right? So the miners are all competing for that block reward. The block reward dishes out every 10 minutes as the next block is kind of stamped onto the blockchain there. So Marlin SDK, what it really does is it allows blockchains and off-chain protocols to scale to hundreds of thousands of nodes without compromising on performance. So one of the problems there is when you scale that high, you're typically sacrificing one of the things in the blockchain trilemma. So I've done detailed videos on the blockchain trilemma in the past, and I've considered making an updated video on it. But basically what you need to know is think about it like a triangle, right? Well, every blockchain kind of fails at one of the kind of the corners of the triangle. So XRP is a good example because XRP has speed and scalability and somewhat of privacy, but they fail in the decentralization aspect. And it doesn't matter whether you like or don't like XRP. That's just looking at it objectively. Like, they clearly are not decentralized. That's why the SEC is able to go after them. Have the SEC try and go after Uniswap. Well, who are they going to attack? They can't really attack anyone because it's a decentralized exchange. No one truly owns it. So it's like trying to take out a beehive by attacking one bee. You're just not going to be able to do it. So then anonymity, this is the other thing we're going to talk about. So the pattern of packet propagation through peer-to-peer network reveals the origin of transactions. Marlin Foundry enables creation and deployment of anonymity networks that can be seamlessly integrated through Marlin SDK. So what is Marlin SDK? This is a robust peer-to-peer networking designed for performance and security. So they break this down with high throughput blockchains, priority gas auctions, decentralized storage, and high frequency trading. Decentralized storage is what I find very, very interesting with things like a cold stack. We've talked about Filecoin. They're using the same things, Filecoin with IPFS, the interplanetary file system. You also have the Marlin Foundries. This is something they talk about a lot on their Twitter, which, by the way, go give them a follow at Marlin Protocol, and go give us a follow at investglobal_IO. I talk a lot about things crypto on Twitter, but this channel is all about global investment strategies. It's not just about crypto. So let's return back here, and then we'll go to that blog. So let's see. Our decentralized network for programmable routers enables you to launch your own, and then it has all these different things. So you can launch your own ton of different things, right? So really what they're doing is laying that groundwork out for you. So they have network bandwidth, flexible incentivization, they have extensible architecture. So the meta nodes, this is quite interesting. So enabling decentralized high performance communication. Meta nodes all across the globe share bandwidth to support networks built using Marlin Foundry. Meta nodes are incentivized to relay packets in exchange for fees. So if you're interested in actually building on Marlin, like you're a developer, you can check out meta nodes here. Also, I highly recommend they built out this testnet. I can't remember the exact name, but they talk about it here on their Twitter at some points. I think it was back. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. They talk about it somewhere in here. Oh, Lagoon. Here we go. So this is here. Maybe I'll like this so you guys can see it. They talked about launching Lagoons. This is the full-fledged testnet environment for operators on the Marlin network. So Lagoon is an isolated lookalike LarvaNet staking platform backed by a separate set of tokens and staking contracts on the Kovan network. So one of the important things about this actual Pond token, ticker symbol POND, is that it's on a lot of big exchanges. If you're here on CoinGecko, one of the things I really like about it is typically you can go down, usually I use the mobile version, but yeah, here you can see all the exchanges that it's listed on. So the fact that it's on Binance with BUSD, so Binance US dollar and US dollar Tether is huge. Then you have Huobi. I'm not a big fan of Gate.io, but that's massive because it basically adds this ability for an on-ramp to Marlin without having to go through a decentralized exchange, because a lot of people don't even know how to use a decentralized exchange, let alone like a Web3 wallet. The grand scheme of things, you have to think about it, it's something like 2% of the world has actually used Bitcoin. And then you have to factor in, okay, what percentage of that has used decentralized finance, decentralized applications? Obviously, that number is growing, but it's still somewhat under the radar in the grand scheme of things. So again, like I said, it's right around 10 cents, up about 7% on the daily. Market cap right around, 3/4 of $100 million, so $76 million. Trading volume at 32 million, has retraced from here, but really didn't pump up that far. So this is still relatively low market cap, but we can continue on here. I did want to focus on this article. So Marlin for the uninitiated. These are a bit more for, obviously this is great for investors and this is interesting for network protocols, but I thought this would be quite interesting to run through just for those of you that haven't really quite gone through this. So let's talk about this and then we'll kind of wrap things up. So a lot's happening in the blockchain ecosystem. If you've been tracking what's happening in the space, chances are you've heard of Marlin. If not, now your chance is to get up to speed. Employing adept ninja-like stealth techniques, we introduced ourselves to the ecosystem mid-2019. We have since amassed a vibrant community and garnered support for notable figures. As we gear up for an exciting 2020, here's a simple understanding of Marlin Protocol from a bird's eye view. So they're going to break it down here. So again, this is kind of what we talked about, the one-liner, which again, a lot of people get confused by, but I hope you kind of understand what I'm talking about. So they deliver scalability. So that's one of the things, for example, in the blockchain trilemma that Ethereum fails on. I talked about how XRP kind of fails in the decentralization space. Ethereum's having struggles with the scalability because they're currently still in this proof of work phase, although they're transitioning to proof of stake, which is great because it's incredible for lower fees and just overall scalability in general. So resiliency, and then add a layer 0 by optimizing the network architecture underneath blockchain. So again, think of that. Just remember that analogy of, when you're going to build a house, what ground are you building it on? That's what Marlin is really focusing on. And that's why I think, the ticker symbol pond is quite interesting because it's kind of laying out this, you can't really attack water, right? You like trying to attack a pond. What are you going to do? Well, you can't really. It's decentralized. And obviously that's an analogy, but I hope you get the point here, what they're really doing. And I'm trying to break this down so you guys understand it from just kind of a high level overview. Obviously, if you're a developer, someone who's building this space, let me know in the comments and I can make a more advanced video on Marlin, but I'm trying to kind of speak in the language of people, maybe again, for the uninitiated, which is what this article is all about. So first, some background to put things in perspective. Blockchain technology is nothing short of revolutionary decentralized system where nodes validate, share, and preserve data. The mechanisms through which the nodes come to agreement on the data that is to be considered valid is called consensus, or layer one. Just as humans need to communicate with one another to deliberate on a decision and then share the final decision with others, blockchains require layer zero, networking. This is the copper/fiber links connecting the computers across the world. So to come to the consensus on the state of the ledger, who paid whom, how much and what they have remaining, or in general, which user made what auction time. So communication, here we go. Communication amongst large groups of people is tough and error prone. In the above picture, for whatever reason, Sam Senior. Okay, so we're going to skip over this. This is kind of how they break things down in that analogy. But I thought I would run down here. So here we go. As a result, the network of current decentralized systems are incredibly efficient by modern centralized standards. So this is a huge thing. Things like Amazon are incredibly inefficient, things like Google, but they're using these modern centralized standards. We're looking to go to peer-to-peer. We're looking to go to decentralized networks, not these centralized standards. So this is very, very important to keep in mind. This in turn results in a low blockchain throughput, long finality times, and suboptimal user experience. After all, no matter the capacity of the body, there's a constraint on how much and how fast content can pass through the neck. In a blockchain's case, peer-to-peer, P2P, communication layer zero, is a major bottleneck. So that's something that's very, very important. So you have to, again, analyze, okay, what is the ground that we're building on, right? Like, what is this layer that we're building on instead of just instantly going to layer one, layer two? For example, with Ethereum, that would be layer one, the ERC20 network. But then layer two with that would be something like Arbitrum or something like, let's see, why am I drawing a blank on this? Matic or a Polygon. So that would be layer two. But again, it's like building a fancy attic in your house or building a nice, what do they call it? Like a maiden's tower, like a witch's tower, those kind of circular towers in houses, which are beautiful. But it's like, okay, you can build the nicest architecture, but if that house is going to fall down, if you're building on a weak layer, right? If the ground layer is weak, well, it's not really worth it in the long term. So indulge us with a bit of hold on. Indulge with us for a bit while we get a little technical, keeping things at a very high level. Most blockchains use peer-to-peer communication mechanisms known as the gossip protocol to propagate, validate, order, and come to consensus on a set of transactions, making them trustless. Gossip involves a node forwarding the block to its neighbors, who in turn forward the block to their own neighbors in an ad hoc manner, not using the most efficient paths, leading to several round trips. Moreover, at every hop of the path, blocks are completely downloaded, verified for their validity, which may in turn require fetching some missing transactions that were included in the block but weren't with the node, and only then forwarding them. Herein lies the problem. So for some blockchains, the size of the block is a big problem. This is why, some blockchains say, okay, we should take some of these off chains. This is kind of the big debates, with Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV. I'm not a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, BTC, not BCH. Not BSV like Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. I'm not a big fan of those. But Bitcoin Cash has its place in some areas, I would say, like for more of a payment network. But when you look at what is being built on Bitcoin for decentralized finance, like the Lightning Network, it solves a lot of those problems that we have where it's like, okay, if you want to send $1 or $2 of something, for example, to like tip or to pay at a coffee shop, well, Bitcoin probably isn't the best bet because your fees are going to be just as high. So there's really no reason to use it, right? Whereas Bitcoin Cash, the fees would be very, very low. This is because of the block size, right? So that's kind of that classic time-old block size debate. If like Roger Ver and some of these other guys in the Bitcoin community for the longest time debated on that. And while layer two solutions circumvent the peer-to-peer propagation of messages, The rate at which these channels can be opened and disputes resolved are restricted by the capacity of the base layer they rely on for security. So layer 1 scaling solutions like sharding attempt to restrict the number of nodes participating in the validation of a transaction to a small subset called a shard. So this is huge. Sharding. This is again something that Ethereum is trying to roll out with layer 2. This is quite interesting. I love this poem, Robert Frost. I remember, I think it was like elementary school. This was my art teacher, Mr. Barnes's favorite quote. Shout out to Mr. Barnes. 2 roads diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled. And that has made all the difference. The road not taken by Robert Frost. So the path less taken comes with its own set of challenges. For an industry that's a little over a decade old, things keep moving pretty quickly with pivots based on the challenges of the environment, new findings from research and competitive advantages. Marlin is no exception, and we're not the type to shy away from the challenge either. Focusing on the networking layer, we are redesigning communication in decentralized networks by introducing a unique economic incentivization model. The outcome is blockchain agnostics plug and play, solutions that allow nodes to communicate faster and transfer a greater amount of data in a shorter span, increasing transaction throughputs. This is huge. I mean, if they really deliver on this, if this really gets adopted, this project can be multi-billion dollars in market cap. So you can see kind of that upside. So again, my kind of thesis here is, okay, it's just like investing in one country. Like if you're so focused on investing in the country you were born in, you don't realize, okay, maybe the ground where you're from is not the best. Maybe you should go to Romania and look. Maybe you should go to Albania. I like to look at emerging markets for real estate opportunities instead of looking at kind of these name brand countries that so many people are so focused on, like, oh, Australia or the UK or Canada or the United States. Man, I mean, these are so overvalued and they have a lot of issues, right? So they kind of have, I would say the pond is a bit toxic, is a bit polluted, and that's really what Marlin is doing. Is they're providing this alternative where it's like, okay, if you want a better place to build on, if you want a better throughput, scalability, all these different things, well, Marlin is kind of your option here. And again, when you're looking at, okay, something like Ethereum or these other blockchain ecosystems like Cardano, Polkadot, so many other ones out there, Avalanche, they're all kind of building as layer 1, but they're not really. I don't know how much they're really looking at layer 0. And I think that's something a lot of people overlook. And that's really my kind of thoughts on Pond. Let me know what you think about this down below in the description. I will have a link down below in the description, but down below in the comments, because I would love to hear any questions you have. You can also let me know, and I can get more kind of in detail in the Telegram group. So go join the Telegram group, link down below in the description. I'm just a group of like-minded investors talking crypto and all things blockchain down there. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. If you enjoyed it, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell to stay up to date. So just to recap, like, subscribe button all, invest global, and until next time.